Federal judges ordered that Trump hand over his tax returns and other financial documents related to 400 of his businesses. This is in connection to the $10 billion lawsuit he filed against the BBC. Well, as it turns out, one of the things that BBC is entitled to is discovery, and specifically whether or not Trump was actually harmed. Trump is trying to say that he's harmed to the tune of $10 billion. Well, in order to prove that or disprove it, BBC needs to know his finances. My name is Dina Doll with the MeidasTouch Network. Let's get into this. Now, BBC not only just got an order demanding that Trump hand over his financial information, but they are still seeking more information like texts, and they're sending subpoenas to certain officials like Steve Bannon. We'll get into that as well. Interestingly enough, Trump v. IRS, that Judge Kathleen Williams order about really how Blanche and Trump colluded in order to basically defraud the court. Well, that was cited by the BBC in their demand that the government stay out of their request to get Trump's text. So all of this is really heating up to really get the truth of the matter, not only what happened on January 6th, what Trump said to people about January 6th, but also about his finances. As we know, Trump famously didn't hand over his tax returns. Ironically, his tax returns were then leaked. The leak of that tax return was the basis of his also $10 billion lawsuit against the United States government, which Blanche basically then created the slush fund, which created the Judge Kathleen Williams order, which was cited in this $10 billion lawsuit. Yes, Trump likes to sue people for $10 billion. Well, the UK, I guess, is a little bit outside Trump's reach. And so the BBC is willing to defend this rather than just capitulate, as we saw so many others do in a defamation lawsuit. Here, they got the judge to say specifically. Now, the judge said the reason why, and also he filed this in Miami. He filed this in Florida, despite the fact the BBC never ran their documentary in the United States. They're actually trying to dismiss this lawsuit outright, but they say in the meantime, we are entitled to this discovery. Of course, it's also a way to incentivize Trump to dismiss the lawsuit in order to not hand over the evidence. Very good legal defense strategy on the BBC's part. This is all about a documentary, the Panorama documentary that was aired just close to the 2024 election, where they spliced his comments about his speech on January 6th. They didn't give, of course, the entire speech in the way they clipped it together. Trump said it implied that he was trying to get them to fight more than he actually meant. And so truth is a defense, and what Trump actually meant is a defense, which is why they're trying to seek his text between certain key people. But also, according to Trump, the reason why he needs to be paid $10 billion by the BBC is he said that this caused him not just reputational damage, but financial damages to his business. His businesses are all held right now under a trust. There's 400 entities involved here. And the judge said, yes, they are asking for a lot of information, but your claim for damages was so broad to encompass all of your businesses. You basically can't say all of my businesses were harmed and then not willing to hand over the financial records in order to determine whether or not that statement is true or not. Specifically, she says, the subpoena is not disproportionate or unduly burdensome as to this litigation. The trust, this is Donald Trump's trust, argues production of its private financial ownership, income, tax, contractual, and asset information is overbroad. But the court again harkens back to the complaint, which is Trump's initial complaint, which asserts plaintiff Trump incurred damages to his, quote, brand, properties, and businesses, a broad array of damages. So this is why she says that BBC is entitled to a broad amount of financial information because, of course, Trump was so vague and broad in his complaint. But look at what she's saying they can get. That Trump has to hand over his private financial financials, his ownership structure for these 400 businesses, the income of these 400 businesses, the tax returns of these 400 businesses, contracts and assets that these 400 businesses own. A huge amount of information. This was a man who was not even willing to hand over one tax return. A huge amount of financial information that the court just ordered that he hand over. Gosh, if this is exactly how people should be defending each and every lawsuit that Trump brings against them. Two of my favorite products these days are the iRestore Elite and the Lumina face mask because both of them help me take care of my skin and face. My hair, these days, I have to get it done because of in-studio appearances, and that curling iron does a lot of damage. And my skin, I'm both aging and yet still breaking out. The iRestore Elite and Illumina face mask make me feel like I am doing the best I can for my hair and skin in a non-invasive way because of their technology. The iRestore Elite uses Lumitech red light therapy to reactivate dominant follicles to restore your natural hair. Lumitech is the most potent combination of lasers and LEDs precisely engineered to the optimal wavelength, power, and dosage to promote hair regrowth. And that Illumina face mask is a dermatologist recommended mask that packs double the power of most other masks with 360-degree medical grade LEDs. And my favorite thing about it is it has 3 different wavelengths that you can use all at once. The red light and infrared light wavelength helps with anti-aging, increased collagen production, hyperpigmentation, and improved blood flow. And the blue light helps reduce acne, clear acne, prevent breakouts, and shrink pores. Both products I can just plug in, sit on my couch, and press play. Right now, iRestore is offering some huge discounts on their red light therapy devices. You can save on customer favorites like the iRestore Elite helmet and the Illumina face mask. Just head to iRestore.com and use code MISTRIAL. That's mistrial at iRestore.com. Please support my show and tell them I sent you. Give your hair and skin the upgrade they deserve so you can feel confident and refreshed. So we have here a huge win for the BBC. Imagine Trump is probably going to try to run and try to settle this in a way to save face rather than hand over these documents. But in addition, they have a right to determine what Trump's intent was on that speech. If he says that the way they edited it made it look like he said something that he didn't intend to say, then they get to explore what he actually intended to say. Well, sure enough, the government files a statement of interest trying to intervene to save Trump because some of these subpoenas had to do with people who are currently in the government. And just like the Department of Justice and the government is trying to help out. I mean, we saw them trying to intervene with the other January 6 lawsuits. They tried to substitute themselves as a defendant. They failed, but they tried to substitute themselves, saying that Trump, basically his actions at the time were presidential actions, and so they should, be substituted. But the fact is, he said it as a private person. Trump already tried to dismiss the January 6th civil lawsuit against him, brought by then Congresswoman Barbara Lee and some of the Capitol officers and others. She's a named plaintiff. She's now the Oakland mayor. That he tried to get dismissed. It's still ongoing because that rally where he said that speech was done with private funds. So it's a private action while was president. And so he also, the government trying to substitute it also was not allowed because of that same reason, because this was not a presidential official action, that speech he gave that day. So here again, also, the government tried to also help Elon Musk, as we know, completely sidestep, but that unpermitted gas turbines for the data center in Memphis, the local activists and Representative Justin J. Pearson really did a good job trying to shut that down. And so, of course, the Department of Justice intervening to try to help Elon Musk. So we're seeing it again. Here, the government trying to intervene to help Donald Trump, trying to say that the BBC subpoenas should not be sent. Well, Judge Kathleen Williams wrote that really strong order mid-June. We are about a month after that. And that is already getting cited and quoted. This is why it is so important to have a judge willing to follow the law, because one, not only was it in that particular case so important for her to say that they basically concluded that this really wasn't a real settlement, it wasn't really a real lawsuit because Trump controls the IRS, but it also because it becomes a precedent. And each and every time Trump tries to collude with his own government, with his own lawyers, against the interests of the American people, or in this case, against the interests of a third party, that legal precedent can be used. And that's exactly what happened in this particular case, citing Trump versus IRS. So the BBC says that, quote, the government's decision to file this statement raises grave ethical concerns on par with those that Judge William addressed in Trump versus IRS, and goes on to quote Judge Kathleen Williams that the government cannot brush those concerns away merely by asserting that plaintiff filed this lawsuit in his, quote, his personal capacity, because to do so is to insist that this court accept a credulous exercise of divorcing President Trump's current job title from an understanding of what happened here. Trump versus IRS. So just like a powerful, just goes to show the power of a good judge and good legal decision, because already it's being used here in this case to tell the judge, hey, heads up. Basically, a judge has already decided that Trump is colluding with it. And so the government really is not an unbiased actor here. So they are the subpoenas that they're looking for, including his family members, Steve Miller and Steve Bannon. Those are crucial in order to decide whether or not Trump's actual goals were on January 6th. So the judge allowing the use of the financial records, and now whether or not the BBC is going to get access to those texts. Is Trump going to go run and try to basically get this, case taken away? It's turned out to be a nightmare for Trump because he has this order, not only financial records, but whether or not BBC can have access to texts. Stephen Miller, Steve Bannon, his family members. Again, this is something he suited as personal capacity. My name is Dina Doll with the MeidasTouch Network. If you haven't yet subscribed to the MeidasTouch Network, be sure to do so. Follow the Mistrial audio podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. If you follow it and leave a comment, a review, it really helps the podcast. So appreciate your support, and check out the Mistrial sponsors. Really grateful for the sponsors because they don't censor what I have to say, which is not something to take lightly right now.
Want to stay plugged in? Become a subscriber to our Substack at MeidasPlus.com. You'll get daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, ad-free episodes of our podcast, and more exclusive content only available at MeidasPlus.com.